Good afternoon. Welcome to the Assembly Education Committee of April 20th. We will call the committee to order. We do not have a quorum at this time. We will wait for a couple more members to come in to establish a quorum. Please take note, we have 22 measures on file today. 5 of them are on consent, and 1 of them has been pulled. The bills on consent are AB 2124, AB 2353, AB 2598, AB 2656, AB 2706. Those are the bills on consent. The bill that has been pulled is AB 2103. That leaves 16 bills to be heard. We will allow 2 minutes per side to testify on each bill, and each witness will have 2 minutes. That's 2 and 2. After the witnesses, all others in support and opposition may state their name, affiliation, and position on that bill only, please. Those are for the folks coming up to the microphone there. With that, we are ready. We'll take our first author now. Mr. Chow has 2 up today, I believe. He will start with file item number 10. File item number 10, and that is AB 2536. You may proceed, Mr. Chow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'd like to begin by accepting as authors' amendments the amendments listed on page 4 of the analysis to make the definition of sexting consistent with the different sections of the bill. AB 2536 gives schools 2 important tools that they need to keep their campus climate positive for learning. 1, the bill makes the topic of sexting a part of comprehensive sex education programs to deter students from sexting. And 2, the bill clarifies that sexting with the purpose or effect of humiliating or harassing a student is considered to be cyberbullying. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, 20% of our teenagers have sent a sext message. Sexting has real consequences. Unfortunately, some teenagers have committed suicide because of the effect of sexting. Some states have begun prosecuting teenagers who sext under child pornography laws. Last year, 3 Connecticut high school students were arrested and charged for participating in a sexting ring that circulated sexually explicit images and videos of other students, sometimes for money. Also last year, over 100 Colorado students were discovered engaging in a sexting ring. And closer to home, in September of 2012, there was a 15-year-old student in Saratoga, California, who attended an unsupervised party where she passed out from alcohol. She was sexually assaulted by 3 teenager boys who took photos of the incident and then texted, emailed, and posted those photos on Facebook. 8 days later, she committed suicide. And the examples go on and on. The bottom line is sexting presents complex challenges to schools as they strive to provide safe environment for learning. Administrators have addressed this issue under various laws, for example, sexual harassment, willful defiance, or when the sexting activity reaches the level of cyberbullying. AB 2536 will help schools keep to provide a safe and conducive environment for learning and curb incidents of sexting by including sexting into the topic discussed as sexual health education, and also clarifying that sexting is a part of cyberbullying. With that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Any witnesses in support? No? Any witnesses in opposition?
Sorry, support.
Support or opposition?
Support. Barrett Snyder on behalf of the Small School Districts Association and the School Districts and County Office of Education in San Bernardino County in support. Thanks.
Any others in support? Seeing no others in support, any in opposition?
Hi, my name is Lily Chen. I'm a staff attorney at Public Counsel. If I may explain the reasons why we are opposing this bill. Decades of research have shown that suspensions and expulsions are actually ineffective at addressing student behavior. What it does do is it makes students twice as likely to drop out from school and 3 times as likely to wind up in the juvenile justice system. For sure, sexting is a concerning behavior, and we want schools to use the most effective tools in order to address and prevent this kind of behavior from happening. This includes setting guidelines and expectations for all students at a school campus, of respect and privacy, also implementing positive behavioral supports and interventions when this type of behavior arises, restorative practices, counseling, and parent-student conferences to address the behavior and repair the harm done to any other students. Excluding students from school for a few days doesn't address the behavior and doesn't force the young person to consider and repair the harm they have caused. This bill could also carry unintended consequences of discriminatory impact because sexting necessarily is very difficult to define and is open to broad discretion in interpretation. For these reasons, we ask for your no vote.
Thank you. Any others in opposition?
Mr. Chair and members, Kevin Baker from the American Civil Liberties Union of California. With respect for the author, he's trying to address an important issue, but we're afraid that the measure goes a little bit too far for the reasons stated by our colleagues in the Ed Equity Coalition. Thank you for your...
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chow, for the bill. You recognize it's certainly impactful to young lives. You shared about the young life that was lost over this, so this can have real impacts, especially to children. And it's a complex challenge for school sites, I get that. And I agree that one avenue, it shouldn't be the first avenue, is expulsion, suspension, something like that. Because sometimes you do need to separate a student from a school for everyone's safety. Having been at a school site for many years, I can tell you that. It should be at least one avenue available, again, to protect everyone's safety. Many of the other avenues are already available that have been mentioned here, so we really don't need to add those to law. They're already there. What you seek today is to add one more avenue in very serious, grave, and impactful situations. So thank you for the bill. And again, I think the intent of your bill is to protect children, not to further harm them. So I appreciate your intent. Are there any other committee members that wish to comment? Seeing none, we do not have a quorum at this time, so we cannot entertain a motion. We will move to your next item. Oh, you may close.
I respectfully ask for a vote. Thank you for your comments also.
Thank you. Oops, sorry. We're going to move to file item number 14, AB 2609. 14.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman and members. AB 2609 protects school-age children from directly receiving potentially misleading solicitations from for-profit organizations to attend so-called prestige conferences. These conferences are generally week-long educational trips for junior high school and high school students that focus on particular areas of interest, for example, leadership training, governance, or science. However, some of these conferences, particularly those operated by for-profit organizations, are being marketed directly to students to give the appearance that they are highly selective awards or honor, when in fact they are simply an expensive sales pitch. This practice raises concerns from both privacy and also consumer protection perspectives. First of all, students should not be targeted by expensive solicitations delivered directly at schools, but existing law does not prohibit this kind of practice. Second, these solicitations can be misleading and manipulative because they are designed to look and sound like an award and are sometimes delivered by a teacher at school, leading many students to believe that they have actually won something that might increase their chances of college admission. 2609 would enact very simple and reasonable measures to protect these K-12 students by requiring for-profit educational conference organizations to address and deliver all marketing materials directly to the parents, and by requiring the solicitation materials to include disclosures such as this is indeed a solicitation, and also the criteria used, an itemized list of all the costs and the like. This will help protect the kids. The bill will give the students more protection from solicitation at school and give their families more control and better information to help them make informed decisions. So with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chow. Any in support? Any witnesses in support? Any opposition? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the committee. Any comments from the committee? Seeing no comments from the committee? Yes or no?
I just wanted to quickly ask the author did you notice any, or can you list any problems that you saw in the existing law that prompted you to bring this bill forward? So obviously, I don't know if anybody can argue against supporting privacy or the student confidentiality issues. So I'm very supportive of the bill, but I wanted to find out from you what prompted this legislation to come forward.
Thanks for your question. This problem has been going on for a long time. In fact, back in 2008, there was an articles in the New York Times basically depicting the severity of this problem. And there was one particular organization by the name of Envision EMI, which is based out in Virginia, who was actually sending out these materials under various subsidiaries. So they were targeting particularly students and then making them believe that they have been selected to receive these honorable awards. So, but in fact, they are just simply a sales pitch. So, so the students were led to believe that they actually won something, and then, by attending this conference, then their chances of getting admission to college would be enhanced. So that's what prompted the problem. In fact, we have materials from this organization, that were sent to various schools and students as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments from the committee, you may close.
Thank you very much. I respectfully ask for a vote.
Again, no quorum, so we will hold that until such time as we do have a quorum. And we're going to move to file item number 22, AB 2864.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members. First of all, I am accepting the committee's amendments on page 4 of the analysis to narrow the scope to 2 specific historical events. 1, the Chinese Exclusion Act, and 2, the contributions of Chinese Americans to the Transcontinental Railroad. AB 2864 would ensure that the Instructional Quality Commission, or IQC, considers including the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 and the contributions made by Chinese Americans in establishing the Transcontinental Railroad when adopting history and social science curriculum. Chinese Americans have played a significant role in the history of California and the United States. They have contributed as farmers, inventors, entrepreneurs, civic leaders, and as builders of the Transcontinental Railroad. The history of Chinese Americans is also filled with hardship, discrimination, and also unequal treatment. For instance, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 was the first major law to single out and forbid a specific ethnic group, namely the Chinese, from immigrating to and becoming naturalized citizens of the United States, among others. The Instructional Quality Commission plays an integral role in determining the subject matter taught to our students by advising the State Board of Equalization on all matters related to curriculum and instruction. A curriculum that allows students to study the origins and implications of discrimination, which also acknowledging the contributions made by a specific ethnic group, such as the Chinese, will assist in developing an acceptance of diversity, respect for human rights, and also become responsible citizens. This bill will ensure that part of the history and contributions of Chinese Americans are taught to students throughout California. So with that, I ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Chow. Any others in support?
From Scientech in support.
Thank you. Any opposition? There may be more support. Sorry.
Martha Zaragoza Diaz, Californians Together and California Association for Bilingual Education. Support if amended? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Barrett Snyder, we have the San Francisco Unified School District in support.
Great. Thank you. Any in opposition? Any comments from the committee members? Seeing that, I just do want to comment first, Mr. Chow. I am going to support your bill today, but I think that as a committee, we need to give some thought to how much curriculum we try and write from the legislature. I think a pretty strong argument could be made that this already exists in the curriculum, and I'll have a statement on that later. We had a number of items come up this year that some would argue already are present in the curriculum. Some would argue already can be present in the curriculum, and we do have a process for that. But again, I thank you for your passion for this cause and your bill. So with that, if you would close.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the comment, Mr. Chair. And I do understand that, the legislature really doesn't have jurisdiction over the IQC. And yet, having said that, I think, that's why we have kind of crafted our language to use the language, encourage the IQC to adopt the curriculum. So with that, I respectfully ask for a aye vote.
Thank you. And when we have a quorum, you'll get my aye vote.
Thank you again. Thank you much.
Thank you. Do you want me to read it now? Or you want to? And I just do quickly, one moment, Mr. Williams, just want to read off a statement about the curriculum bills. And again, that's before the next author. Just over the years, this committee has approved a number of measures which require that specific content is included in curriculum frameworks. Sometimes this content is actually already in the frameworks. While I have supported several bills, I'm increasingly concerned that we are trying to write curriculum from the state capitol. Clearly, the legislature has a role to play in shaping curriculum, and I would also say we put a lot of things on through this body, but I don't see us taking things off, and that's a concern. But we need to acknowledge that there is an open public process for curriculum development. This process engages national experts who know the standards, know the scope and sequence of the content at each grade level, and know the time constraints our teachers face. Again, we keep adding on, but we don't take off. So I'm directing my committee staff to work with our Republican staff counterpart in the interim on ways to address this issue. And I thank their openness for at least having that discussion. So with that, Mr. Williams is ready to present, and he has AB 2545? AB 2545, file item number 20. You may proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to make it clear that I accept the committee amendments outlined in the analysis. The negative tone in our national politics has inflamed a disturbing trend of scapegoating and fear-mongering of American Muslims. AB 2845 aims to address bullying and discrimination in our public education system as a result of Islamophobia. 55% of American Muslim students attending California public schools have experienced some form of bullying based on their religious identity. This is twice as high as the national statistics for students who report being bullied at school. So it is just not the run-of-the-mill behavior. Similarly, 50% of Sikh students have encountered school bullying, and this number increases to 67% for turbaned Sikh students. This bill will ensure that school employees will be provided school site and community resources for students who are subject to discrimination and bullying based on actual or perceived religious affiliation, so that our students are provided the assistance and support they need when faced with school bullying and discrimination. Additionally, this bill requires the California Department of Education to include information on bullying and discrimination based on religious affiliation on its website. These resources are essential to ensure student access, that student academic success occurs, because it is difficult for children to learn in a fearful environment. Members, I think this one has both concrete and symbolic value. I know you are beset in this committee with bills that lean maybe towards the latter, but it is an important point in American history and in the discourse of America to take that stand. I have supporters to testify on the measure. Saad Swilam with the Council on American Islamic Relations, the Sacramento Valley office, and I have Yasmin Naya Bakil, a fifth grade student at Two Rivers Elementary, and her mother, Valerie.
Good afternoon. My name is Saad Swalam. I'm a civil rights attorney for CARE California. One of the most common incidents that we have to deal with at CARE are reports of Muslim students being bullied on school campuses across California. Oftentimes, CARE is able to step in and provide workshops and diversity training for some of these schools after bullying incidents are reported. However, it's becoming painstakingly clear that we need to take proactive steps to ensure that schools themselves are prepared and equipped to be the first responders when these incidents occur. In 2014, CARE California released a report examining the issues that Muslim students face on campuses across the state. The report included a survey of 621 Muslim students ranging from elementary school through high school who attended public schools throughout California. This survey showed that 52% of Muslim students responded that they had been abused at school because of their religion. 29% of students who wore the hijab reported that at some point or another, someone at school had either tried to tug, pull, or offensively touch their headscarves. 19% of students who responded said that they had also experienced cyberbullying because of their religion. 20% of students reported experiencing discrimination by staff members at their schools. 47% of students from 5th grade through 8th grade reported experiencing bullying, and 13% of those students experienced it from staff from their schools as well. 64% of high school students reported bullying as well, with 28% being from teachers or staff or administrators. However, what's as equally troubling, if not more troubling, has been the lack of reaction and response at these schools. 35% of students reported that they themselves failed to report the incident at schools because they didn't feel there were proper resources. 41% of students who did report the incidents disagreed or were unsure with the statement that the school helped resolve the problem. 46% of students who did tell the school felt unhappy about the school's response. What these studies show is that there's been a rise of Islamophobia throughout the country in the last 2 decades, and they're starting to impact our schools and our students. With us today is Yasmin Ayab-Kil. She's a 10-year-old 5th grade student right here in Natomas. So we brought Yasmin here to share her story about a recent experience that she's had at school.
My name is Yasmin Nayabkil, and I am a 5th grade student at Two Rivers Elementary. And recently at my school, I have been called names like I was ugly, I was an old woman, and I was a terrorist. These names did not make me feel good, and my teacher didn't help because whenever I tried to tell her that something was wrong, she pushed it aside. One of the days that I was getting bullied, I started to cry because it was so overwhelming. She told me to go into the back room and call my mom. This also did not make me feel good because it made me feel different from all the other kids in my class. She also overwhelmed me because she always asked me to explain myself of why I'm wearing my hijab in front of the whole classroom, and that was when I was crying, so that made me feel different because she doesn't ask anybody else to explain themselves, and that of course makes me feel different.
Thank you.
Thank you for your story. With that, are there any others in support? They may come up to the microphone right here. Please state your name, your affiliation, and your position on the bill only.
My name is Solman Ayapkil. I'm also Yasmin's aunt, and I'm in support.
My name is Layla Nayabkil. I'm Yasmin's sister, and I'm in support.
Okay. Hello, my name is Alexander Bowie, and I'm Yazie's cousin.
Dana Elneal on behalf of CARE California in support.
Steven Sepulveda on behalf of the California Immigrant Policy Center in strong support of this bill.
Dr. Jesse Ortiz, Yola County Superintendent of Schools, in support of the bill.
Khadija Alam Javed. On a personal level, as a Muslim, I strongly support this bill, and good job, Yasmin, and thank you, Assemblymember Williams, for bringing this bill forward. Thank you.
Andrew Medino of Asian Americans Advancing Justice, the Project of Advancing Justice Asian Law Caucus, and Advancing Justice LA, sending strong support as a co-sponsor with CARE California, as well as the C Coalition. Thank you.
My name is Melvina Martin. I strongly support this bill because my son was assaulted by 4 boys in the bathroom and choked, and it was covered up. So I strongly support.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. With that, seeing no other witnesses in support, any witnesses in opposition? I see no witnesses in opposition. With that, we'll bring it back to the committee. I guess there's nothing more American than this bill. Right? And understand that my previous statement doesn't speak to your bill. I was talking about curriculum bills. This is not a curriculum bill at all. This is about appropriate behavior and how we treat other humans in our schools. So thank you for the bill. And any of the other committee members wish to comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the author, and I wanted to thank Ms. Yasmin Naib-Kil and your family who came here with you today. I want to thank you for your statement, which was very well delivered, by the way. You seem very comfortable at that table. Maybe you'll be sitting at one of these tables as a future assembly member. I want to congratulate you, and I'm sorry that these things have happened to you in your school community, and I wish that we didn't have any bullying, but you know better than me that it happens. And I hope that when someone says to you, or if someone says to you things that you know aren't true, that you will say, in fact, that you are a beautiful and brilliant and talented person who should not be interfered with. So,
No applause. Sorry.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I'm interested in knowing if the author knows or his witness knows how we handle in our schools a larger conversation about cultural competency. I think what shocked me more than anything is to hear that adults are on the other end of this mistreatment of our students. And so I guess I shouldn't be shocked, because we know that bias exists everywhere and in every profession and in every community. And so we often talk about cultural competency to help our students to recognize difference in how we learn. I guess I'm interested in what we do around cultural competency as it relates to recognizing difference, whether it be for religious practice or other forms of difference where adults and students might create harm for our students. I don't know if either the author or the witness has any information about programs that you're aware of in Syria.
I don't. I guess I have I think as a former teacher, people in a school can get desensitized to all the different ways that kids can torture each other, but when this is clearly arising out of race or of religion, it takes a much darker and more sinister result. And I think that's the sort of what we have to grapple with, is that it's a little bit different, and it is something that is clearly also linked to the national discourse. These incidences have shot up dramatically in the election year alone. And I think all of us, I'm particularly proud of Yasmin for standing up for her, both for her faith and for her country, right? Because there is nothing more American than protecting the civil liberties that we all enjoy and that our country is founded upon. But I also think that we need to collectively say, that kind of persecution of the stranger violates those core civil liberties. It also, for those of us of faith, regardless of our faith, violates those core principles of our faith. And we as a community should say that and should articulate that.
Thank you. Thank you to the author. Thank you, Ms. Yasmin, for being a leader, and thank you to your mom and your family for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Good conversation there. Any other thoughts, comments from the committee?
I want to thank Mr. Williams for bringing this bill forward. As we all understand, especially in this day and age when diversity is so common, there is no room for discrimination or bullying for any reason whatsoever. And for Yasmin to face what you just did, but for boldly standing up and sharing your experience with us, I want to thank you. It takes courage to speak in public. It takes courage to be where you are today. So I want to thank you. When I was initially reading the legislation, your bill, there were just one area that concerned me, but I think it's been addressed, and I want to refer to that, and that is, I believe, when we talk about having no discrimination or bullying for whatever reason, I totally support that, but initially, as written, the legislation appealed to single out certain groups for like religion or whatever. But it's my understanding you already took the amendment, and the way I read it, the amendment includes it strikes out all the specific groups, and instead you are taking this on the no bullying on the basis of religion affiliation or perceived religious affiliation. I think this, by broadening the term, it makes it even better. So I want to thank you for that, and I'm very happy to support your bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further comment from the committee, why don't we establish a quorum, then we can get a motion and vote on your bill. Please, Secretary, please call the roll.
O'Donnell.
Here.
Olson. Here. Kim. Here. McCarty. Santiago. Thurmond. Here. Weber. Okay, there's a quorum.
The quorum has been established, so I will entertain a motion on your bill. Oh, I'm sorry, you may close.
Respectfully ask for a vote.
Okay. We have a motion?
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded. Secretary, please call the roll.
O'Donnell.
Aye.
O'Donnell, I. Olson. Aye. Olson, I. Kim. Aye. Kim, I. McCarty. Santiago. Thurmond. Aye. Thurmond, I. Weber. It's got 4 votes.
The bill is out.
Thank you.
Okay.